Welcome, here we are. Next episode of the Smokies Wine and official Arbroath podcast. With me tonight, we have got the usual suspects. Fermer to my left. How we doing, Fermer?
Doing great, loving life. Big win, loving it.
And Jamie to the right. And of course,
hello there.
Special guest tonight, Mr. Barry Sellars.
Woo!
Good evening, gentlemen.
The legend himself.
Fermer, how you doing?
I'm doing good, I'm doing good.
How you doing, Barry, anyway? You okay?
Yeah, good.
Okay,
Really
great
good.
to have you here. We'll
Really
get to fans will know you a lot, a long time player of the club, etc, etc. We'll get into a bit more of your career as we go through the pod tonight, but
Dad was still better.
always
I've never heard that before, Fermer.
No, I'm letting you hear the ma.
Thankfully he's not a big man enough to live in his small footsteps.
Just a quick round up of the game. Since the last time we first one would have been the Partick game, the league, because the last pod we had was the cup game. So then we had the league game.
Away at Partick.
That was the home game.
The home game was here, that's right. We had the home game here. I was up in the commentary booth that day. I was having a wee guest stint with Scotty. So
Went down amazing, I heard.
I didn't care. That was fine. It was fine.
How did you go on with Dougie Donnelly?
Easy. I'm a professional. There was no problem. I got my orders and the job was done. Scotty told me when to speak, and he gave me the nod. It was easy. Like Ewan Smith was rubbish compared to Scotty Strachan.
That's a big call.
Fair to say there was nothing in it until the sending off.
I think I thought Arbroath were looking okay to start with. Some of the new signings was doing well, and Scott Allen was doing quite well in the midfield. After the sending off, we kind of fell out of it again. 10 men, it's difficult. Again, a lot of the times with 10 men, the other team you can get on well, but we were up against it. Partick were a decent team. They were playing that ball superbly for the back. Best I've seen our season playing the ball out for the back. Dick, if you watched it or no, Barry, but I thought they were really good. Sending off, in my opinion. I'm not here to.
Moment of madness.
Oh, definitely.
A few moments of madness.
Oh, definitely. It was no doubt it was a red card. I actually thought the first challenge could have been a red card down at the far side. But listen, it's done. These things happen. We got beat 2-0. In fairness, though, Partick had some goal. Great goal. So kind of, I think it was about Lawless. I thought he had a great game, and it was good. And then the next game was off due to. Obviously.
What happened? Why was it off? I can't mind.
Just get it out now. Get the elephant in the room. So we had to postpone the game because of the Queen's death. So
The Queen died, did she?
they kept it. Well, I'm going to be respectful. You're obviously nailing, but the Queen died, so we gave it off.
I haven't seen anything in the news.
And judging by social media, it's just as well it was off because there was an awful lot of folk couldn't control their emotions and a minute's silence or a clap, whatever, like you can.
There was
so that's good much.
To be fair, there was some bad cracks at some of the games.
I heard, I was listening actually, Dick, and you said Dundee United's Rangers was pretty bad.
Yeah.
The Celtic one was ridiculous. I'll just say it. It was awful. If you want to show respect, just be quiet.
I think that's what happens. So like we were saying on social media, unfortunately, you've nothing get to say, then I speak.
Yeah.
That'll be me now, I'll be quiet.
Red game, when's that? That's October the 19th. Rearranged.
I haven't seen that, to be fair. I'm not what to say, but that'll be a midweek. But luckily,
October the 19th.
Luckily, we're at home, so it's not a big travel for us doing to there. So it'll no be for a fan. It's no that bad. For the players, it's midweek. It's up here, so probably no the best thing that could have happened.
You just pointed at Barry there when you said for the players. That's a long time ago.
He's got some memory.
I've got memories of you, Barry. And they're good deeds. They're good deeds.
And then the first 3 points on the board, Morton.
Oh, what a day that was. What a day. We were fantastic. Morton weren't great, let's not kid ourselves, but you can only play what you're up in front of. And I thought, as a team, we played great. We had heart, we had dig. Dale Hilson, what a game.
He did have a good
He
game.
just was fantastic. I thought he was great. Scotty Stewart, for me, was my man of the match. I thought he was in there great. I thought he was brilliant.
I thought Oakley.
Well, he got the task man of the match award. I mean, I saw the results coming in. When Abdi was texting in and that, I just said, I didn't point in voting. and spoil the boy's record. So I think he would have had about 100% of the votes. But he was good. He's got a thing you're looking for in a player, for me anyway. Barry will maybe tell a wee bit more, but he's got that. He's got pace. He seems to know where to put the ball, and he's got a great pass. I mean, that delivery he did for the first goal was just brilliant. And he's got a bit of cheekiness about him. He's no fear to how we play with the players and then about and rattle them. So for me, that's what I'm needing in a player like.
You seen much of him, Barry?
No, to be fair, I've not. I've seen the highlights from Saturday's game there. And to be fair, he looks the part. You know, you didn't get to the level he's gotten to down the road there. If you've not got something about you, he's played in the first team and whatnot. He's been there and thereabouts. But certainly the delivery for the first goal, even Hilly couldn't have missed. So thought you might laugh at that. No, it was an exceptional delivery, and it was a great start.
As a player, when you've been going through a bad run and you get that first one on the board, how much of a confidence booster will that give the team?
Oh, the team! Oh, massive for the team. I think it was always going to be an exceptionally difficult start to this season because the levels we got to last season. Because in fairness to us as supporters of Arbroath Football Club now, never in our wildest dreams did we think, and I say that we because I'm a huge supporter, you'd be within 10 minutes of potentially being in the Premier League. So coming out of last season into this season was always going to be difficult. But you're absolutely right. The sooner you get your first 3 points on the board, it's like a huge.
We've spoken about the new players trying to get into the team and sort of gel, so that's starting to kick in as well, eh?
As Fermer's already said, that we've all got a different viewpoint of how we look at different players and supporters and fans and whatever else. But for me, the obvious difference this year is that the gaffers had a pretty consistent team. The core of the team has been consistent for 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, the back five has picked itself. I mean, some of them have not missed a single game.
Yeah,
but this season, obviously, there's a little bit of change, which is completely common in football.
Yeah.
But the gaffers, I'm going to say he's been lucky because he's not lucky. He's exceptionally good. But you know, Jason, Ricky, Tam, and Hammy, and Gaston and goal. I mean, anyone in the world could have picked our most back five for the last 2 years. So, but this year is just a little bit of evolution. So, coming off the back of last year's exceptional standards and then having a little bit of evolution in the playing squad, and there's no surprises for any other team about Arbroath this year, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult, you know. And then tiny little circumstances like you got a couple of red cards and out of nothing,
yeah,
and very quickly it can be a wee bit more difficult to just get a couple of results. But Arbroath haven't suddenly turned into a bad team, and that's never going to be the case. But if you're missing Tam for 3 or 4 games, one of, if not the best centre half in the league, any team in that league would take Tam O'Brien. So if you're missing him, straight away.
I think you're right. And another thing, Ken, that we're maybe no paying attention to, a lot of the players that's been playing, Ken, we're saying we've not been playing that great, but players are playing out of position. It's awfully easy to key in it there if you've got JT that he's going to be here when he's defending. If you've got then Scotty Stewart taking his place, it's makes it easy for him to be where you think he's got to be, and a pass might not look so good just because he's maybe half a yard or away from where he thinks. So there's a little bit of that we players playing out of position, and obviously the gaffer thinks that that's what's needed to be done. And if you've not got great players, or great players is a wrong word, if you've not got what you think's the best player to fit in there, you might pick your fill-in kind of player, because make no mistake, some of that players on your team are so versatile, they're no got a regular starting place. Now that's unfortunate on them.
It's the gaffer's brilliant at that. It's been all these years. It's not by coincidence that he's got a squad of players that he's got a lot of versatility and whatnot. But in football management at any level, whether you play football on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever else, it's extremely difficult being a manager, because what you're effectively trying to get to is a point of continuity where it's like a well-oiled machine. Yeah. The gaffer's been like that, as I say, here for 3 or 4 years. Just now, he's had challenges. There's parts of the engine not quite working, but for 4 years, it's been a well-oiled machine, and that's where every manager tries to get to. Is pretty much got 9 or 10 players that, if they're fit, they're going to play. And you know, and as I say, this year, Tam, and there's been a couple of injuries. Jason, obviously, Nicky, and whatever else. So,
They were 7 shy at one point, so they're coming back. So that's always good.
and again, there's an awful lot goes on behind the scenes, particularly at a part-time football club, but any football team. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes that supporters wouldn't know about. Of course, you wouldn't, but players' families not been well, the kids not been well. You know, they're having problems there. They've got a wee strain. They've not been feeling well. You know, they've not trained well, or they've not trained, so they're not playing. But when we turn up on a Saturday, it's like, how is he not playing?
Yeah.
How can that manager possibly not be? You've no idea what's been going on behind the scenes. You know, and that all has a detrimental effect to just a little bit of fragmentation, and then the consistency that you need in your team.
But the win brings more positivity to training as well, and gets everybody.
It's amazing. It's honestly, it's amazing. I know. Listen, it'll apply to us all, but a Saturday in football makes or breaks your whole week until the next Saturday. For us all. For us all.
Plan as well, absolutely.
Saturday coming home in the bus, coming home from Morton, 3 points. The bus was buzzing. Fair enough, there was only 24 of us on it. Again, last year we were. I'll cover this wee bit just now. We were getting a wee bit of grief as a club and as a task and as a football club. Why are they not putting on enough buses to take fans doing? We spend a lot of time organising fans to come on buses and booking buses, and you do it. And then a couple of times last year we did book 2 buses. The club even booked buses. Well, they had to cancel theirs, and then Folk would come and do us, and we had a bigger bus. So we started a bigger bus this year. As we said, the results dropped a wee bit. They're no far out. Think about it. The fans stopped coming. So there was a 65-seater bus boating on Saturday. Again, 24 of us on it. So, but that 24 folk were happy. But in fairness, there was a lot more than 24 folk at the game. But that 24 folk in that bus were just absolutely buzzing coming home like you can.
It's incredible what it does to your weekend, but even in the week, because everyone turns up to training, they're buzzing, they're looking forward to it, and obviously players are expecting to play, they're expecting to play, and the players that want to play and get a win, they want in the team, and the whole thing's like, can't wait.
Next 2 games pretty important as well. We've got a good chance to get another wee confidence boost with the cup game on Saturday, East Fife. No disrespect to them, but that's a team we should be beating.
There's 2 ways to look at. For me, Barry will have maybe a different opinion. There's 2 ways to look at this game on Saturday. It's a cup game. Based on us winning on Saturday, we could possibly have done a through the cup game because we're on a roll in the league. But in fairness, get other players back in and get them game time. So it depends why you want to balance it. I'm sure as a manager, I'm sure Dick's quite happy to have other players in, get them back in and get them a bit of game time, get some of these newer players in.
I think so, yeah. As a player, you always want to play games. The manager, you're right, the manager probably, I think, depending on how the injury list or whatever else is, might prefer not to have a game, but as a player, you're obviously desperate to play. Sometimes, unfortunately, when you get a lesser team, again, as I've said to you, the expectation is, Arbroath should be. So if they don't turn up and perform and it doesn't go their way, then it can be a bit of a pain in the butt. But you would expect Arbroath to go there.
On paper, we should start a streak.
You should.
But it's a cup game, and remember, when we're the underdogs against other folk, you raise your game. East Fife will give us a game. There's no two doubts about that. But we should be dealing with it.
If the players turn up, and the manager, the gaffer's pretty good at motivating the dressing rooms.
I'm going to ask you about some of that later on.
I'm not sure I can tell you.
To be honest, you might not. What's what I was asking?
I'll ask other questions like.
And then the game after was Cove away, and
That's it. I don't want to say it's a 6-pointer, but it's going to be a good game.
It's a big game.
big game for you.
Aye, big game for me. Hospitality. £125 a head. What? £125.
Jesus.
Sure, they've just put it up because our bro's coming up. Getting big money for a big team, like. That's a lot of. The lads are going. There's a couple of family members we're going up there, so I think we're match sponsors or something. So I think we get to pick the man of the match. So let me tell you, it'll be an Arbroath player. I'm not sure how that'll do with the Cove fans. That'll be an Arbroath player, like.
That's an exclusive right now.
I'm not going to name the names, but me and Colin, we were at a hospitality in Dundee United. The man of the match was picked up before the game kicked off. And it wasn't us, like.
But what the hell are you getting for 120 quid? What the hell?
I'm 25.
What the hell?
I've got the menu.
Jesus.
If you keep reading it, you don't just...
Farmer's looks out for the mids and Skirling. Because we've got about 2 weeks to go with the long window shutting as well. Are you still a scout in your other...
Just try to help anybody I can, and just because you've been in the game, you know players and whatever else, but it's a super difficult time, and it's getting worse, John. It seems to be getting worse. Just the lack of players. You know, there's not so much of a pyramid system now where the top teams used to have reserve teams and the younger ones used to come out on loan, but for all the obvious reasons now the finances aren't there, so the amount of players that are available to come out on loan are minimal, and every team's chasing the same players. So and that's probably how Pink and the Gaffer have...
Well, just wait to say, put that in context for fans that are listening, because there is a little bit of frustration sometimes out there. So, we don't get a striker. It's not just as easy as, oh, we'll have him, thanks very much. How difficult will it be for us to get started?
Honestly, it's extraordinarily difficult. I know, obviously, well, us up at Forfar there, you obviously set out your task months in advance, but equally, things change all the time. So, you know, using Aberdeen as an example, Peanut, Poshy, Derek, and whatnot, we're only one of 50 managers chasing them, and they can't overly promise, but they kind of, yeah, we'll promise you this, that and the next thing. And of course there's a lot of circumstances come down to how you get the player. They might be waiting on another striker coming in, and then they're letting one of their younger ones out. They might have it all lined up, and then one of their strikers that's playing picks up a knock, an injury. You're like, shit. So you think you've got players lined up, and honestly they're all, I mean, just speaking to managers, other than probably very few handful, they're all looking for players. They're all looking for,
and it's always a striker. It's the
hen's teeth stuff. Centre half, strikers, left backs. But it's just, and it's extraordinarily frustrating. But yeah, getting back to it, it's really difficult. There's not an awful lot of players available, and as I say, everyone's chasing the same players, and then it sometimes comes down to budgets. And then it comes down to, believe it or not, and I know you might giggle at this, but there's an awful lot of players that, in my opinion, have an agent, and they're absolutely fundamental. Do not require an agent at the level they're playing at. And younger ones in one that as well, but in some cases it can come down to the agent. It's outrageous. Honestly, it's outrageous. The agent's giving advice, and I mean, the agent's not standing to make tens of thousands of pounds. It's like peanuts, but you know. And I know in Arbroath's case as well, I'm probably not speaking out of turn, but I speak to Pink quite a lot. And X, Y and Z lined up, and out of nowhere you get a curveball at Grimsby, or you know, a championship team in England have offered whatever, another £1,000 a week towards, and you're like, boys in the car, ready to drive up to Scotland.
That's exactly what happened.
So the manager, Pink, or whatever else, are based in the hotel, waiting on the boy turning up, phone call, actually he's not coming now, we've been offered this and that, and like, you can't do that. But that is the nature of football.
I was speaking, well, Mike Caird, pardon me, Mike Caird and Paul was speaking to them, and they were at pains jealous tonight. He said, look, put this across, Dick's player budget is the most any Arbroath man's ever had. And they were kind of replying a wee bit, because obviously Arbroath were getting a hard time for on social media for no signing. And as a fan, you can understand that frustration. But there's a club there saying, look guys, it's near that we hadn't been trying. We're no having money back. They were on about kind of spent money on the ground. The ground budget and the player budget's totally different, and it was always allocated. And according to what the board's telling me the night, and Dick and Pink say it.
But the irony is, Fermer, and this is where we're at now, because when I started playing here, you know, Bakey had about £50 a week. So you had your level of player you were after.
Yep.
Whereas Arbroath Football Club are now competing with championship, top championship, bottom Premier League teams for these players. So they're actually in a completely different market now. So
they're in a full-time market.
Exactly. Totally different market. So, and with respect, I mean, this place, this stadium, this club, is off the scale to where it was. But you're now in a different market, and you're now competing with teams that are prepared to pay thousands of pounds a week towards players. So you're actually in a different conundrum. Whereas when the Gaffer came in, he was in a position, like myself, Swangs, Tam O'Brien, Hammond, all these boys, you know them, bloody back, come and play. Whereas now, Scotty Allen and all, you're in a totally different.
Well, there's Kilmarnock last year. Was it Lafferty was on £4,000 a week or something? that's in the same league as us, and we were competing for the title with them, and they've strikers on foreground. I know it's a different style.
No, it is, but I would probably go as far as to say that Arbroath are competing with Dundee, Ayr, you know, Partick Thistle, Cove. Cove are paying.
They've got a bit of money.
It's just, but they can't get players in. Again, they've got the is it Longstaff from down south, ex-Liverpool young lad. It's just, I mean, I've watched Cove a couple of times this year, and they're struggling to fill their bench. And it's not because they don't have money, because they've got ransom money. So it's, you can blow the myths of the supporter. Why are we not? It's not because the manager's sitting on a sun lounger with a Hamlet in his mouth. He is trying his
Well, he could
very
get players
best.
in, but then it wouldn't be the players of the standard of the championship.
Well, with respect, he's ventured out of the comfort zone of the best part-time players. So he's had to venture out of that. And with respect, you know, some of the players that he's bringing in now may not have experience at playing in this country or at this level, but you can only do that so many times with players. You do need to bring in the tried, the tested. You know, Newbley was even a little bit of a gamble.
I said that to JB on the way here. I says that now you got to get in a few, and it's a bit of a punt. It has to be a bit of a punt.
It is,
you know.
But and with respect,
Hopefully it works out right.
Look at Newbley for an example. Newbley wasn't a great first couple of games. I mean, it was 2 or 3 times. There was another lad playing that come off and played a trial. He basically come off a plane and trialled, and for a wee while some folk thought he was better in Newbley.
Big man struggled the first couple of games.
Yes, he did. But look, when he comes in, so when you're doing a bit of scouting now, Barry. So just for the benefit of our, I was going to say viewers there, but it's listeners. viewer. For the benefit of the folk. So if you're doing a wee bit of scouting, and it's up to you whether you tell us whether you're doing it for any specific team or a few of them together. Are you looking at players out and about at some of these other leagues and divisions, and then telling your contacts, or are you looking at players that they're asking you to look at? So
at this moment in time, I'm doing it for a team that I'll not say who it is, for the benefit of this show, but on an official capacity, so I'm going out to watch games for them because they've asked for me to go and do that. So it's an official professional setup. It's a full-time football club. So we have a back end system where we upload all the information. So there's a few of us. So we're building up a database of games, players. So all the information's at the touch of a button. So you know, we each individually maybe put the star player or star players. In addition, each player gets a score, and then we reconvene every 6 weeks to see, you know, who's been playing well consistently, blah de blah, and then you start to build up a bit of a portfolio, and then you start to track players. If the manager's saying to the scout, the head of recruitment or whatever else, I'm looking for a left back, this player's out of contract, I'm not overly happy with him. The old golden nugget, I'm looking for a striker. So that's
what Klopp bought into, wasn't it, in a way, the Moneyball sort of thing. If I need a left back, and then you have a list of your left backs.
Everyone's obviously different, and it's difficult when you get to that level. Obviously they're in it for the long term, and as you'll probably understand now, a lot of these top teams they have a head coach, where the infrastructure of the football club isn't purely based on the head coach. The head coach does a job, but the infrastructure of the club's there. So the head coach decides that, or somebody decides he's not for the job, it doesn't fragment the whole infrastructure. So, but that's at the very elite level. And also what they're doing at elite level now, believe it or not, is these top teams are actually signing players based on their statistics. I don't know if you guys are overly familiar with, but there's, and we had a bit of fun for it as well, thankfully, but they've got GPS vests. So they record all your data, how far you're on, how hard you're on, how many tackles, everything. They record that. And some of these top teams, or not even the top teams, but some of these teams in England are signing players on stats and data. And they're actually bringing them in, and they're developing them and they're selling them on. It's like a totally different level of football now. But
as I say, that's the Moneyball thing from 20 years ago. That's that sort of style of thing.
It's fascinating.
Which is pretty cool. Like,
does that come from the States?
Yeah, that was baseball.
That's exactly what it is.
The whole stat structure.
It's exactly what it is, and it's fascinating.
And Klopp's bought into that.
Unbelievable. Some of the younger guys that Klopp signed, Harvey Elliott and the younger kid now from Fulham, it's phenomenal. 17, I mean, my God, 17, 18, 19. And you're thinking he's not going to get a game because Sané, Firmino, but slowly but surely. It'll be interesting to see how young Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen gets on, and at Liverpool, obviously the right back that they signed in the summer there for a huge amount of money. Unfortunately, he got injured in his first couple of weeks down there. I think he's been injured, but I mean, somebody had said to us 2 years ago, that kid will sign for Liverpool in 2 years for £7 million. You would have laughed.
Right.
But there he is now, and let's just see where the journey takes him, because who knows, in a year, 2, 3, 5 years, could be sold on for.
That's it. You just need a couple of good years, and then they're sold on, and that's it. Bob's your uncle.
It's outrageous. But
Aye.
these top teams, guys, they get the opportunity to develop players with respect to Arbroaths, and the gaffer has to bring the mince and tatties to the table now, today.
It's another style of pressure, isn't it?
Totally different. You guys are no interested in them bringing a young player for 2 weeks on Saturday. You want to see the bread and butter now, so it's a totally different game. But equally, it's just there's such a limit now in the market that he's in. There's just such a limit of players, and I know, as I say, I speak to him pink more than the gaffer, because the gaffer's on Glen Eagles 24/7. I think there's the graphic, but no, I speak.
That's a jealousy there, because he's not getting in the golf tour, isn't it? I've seen him play golf. Glen Eagles wouldn't hear him on. Like, I wouldn't let him play in the pitch and putt.
But they're trying hard. They're trying really, and I know that they're trying really, really hard, and they're just hoping and praying that they can, one of the bigger teams maybe brings a striker in from someplace else on loan, and then one of the younger ones gets out, whatever else.
Do you enjoy going to see this? I can enjoy your game of football, Barry, but do you enjoy them telling you where to go and watch, or do you have an input to that? I'm kind of really interested in this scouting type thing, to be quite honest with you.
No, it's you get an input, but at the same time, as you know, there's a level of professionalism. So, but we'll try to put it in a geographical scenario. So,
Right, what's your region? East of Scotland or all of Scotland?
yeah, well, no, I mean, from the north down. I mean, I've watched Wraith, Livingston, Alloa. Edinburgh, I wouldn't need to go any further than sort of Edinburgh area, Dun United and all the rest of it up here. I mean, you can, people cross over and all the rest of it, guys, but that's, they'll put out a roster, and if anyone's got an issue, you say I've got an issue, but realistically, I've probably been quite fortunate that I've had a reasonable experience in all different levels and aspects of football, so I'm actually thoroughly enjoying now, believe it or not, turning up to a game with absolutely zero pressure. Absolutely zero. And you get the chance to analyse, because again, you guys will understand this as well, but when you're at a game, you see a totally different picture. You see the movement off the ball, the movement, the awareness. When you're watching the football on the telly, you follow the ball, because that's what the camera does. But
I'm glad you brought that up. That was something at lockdown that I think a lot of players done the day, and I'm going to mention the games. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be in the ground, and I was watching Chris Doolan play a lot, and I was telling one of my pals, and says, that man's amazing, and I said, it doesn't look that good in the telly, he's no focusing, but the camera's focusing the bar, and just Barry said, you have no understanding. The best thing I've actually seen it was actually Kenny Miller when he played for Partick. He gaffered the game up here. He just told the youngsters far about the gang, and he was nudging them, and that's what Chris Doolan was doing. And you didn't see that on the telly and watching players. I think that's a great thing for it, and I agree with you, Barry. No pressure. You're seeing it. You can focus on the whole game. Nay, the Ronaldo and the bar. You know what I mean? Because you might be focusing. Let's just say, for example, the right back. You might have been watching, because if folk had been watching young Marcus Oakley, they might not have seen him do nothing. The little wee thing he did, his positioning, watching it. Because all that came to the fold on Saturday. I mean, how well that boy sees a game.
he's at a good level. The guys obviously played at a good level, and when teams at the top level are looking to recruit players, they'll watch them for 3-4 months. Jesus. And they'll get different eyes, different opinions, and then ultimately the manager will go and watch them, because the manager ultimately will say so. It's all right, me or Fermer or you two saying, actually Oakley, go and sign Oakley, but the manager lives and dies by his selection, so ultimately he should be the one that goes along and says, actually he's not for me, or not, boys, well done.
Plus, he doesn't want to go and watch Aberdeen, does he? His time's valuable.
He can't, but that's what goes back to the start, as I say, Jamie, that the gaffer has built a squad here, and I'm trying to give you as my experiences of.
That's what you're here for.
Being in the dressing room, I got a phenomenal starting coaching experience with a gaffer at Forfar in 2013. He's an unbelievable human being. What a funny guy. So for 2 or 3 years before I finished playing, because I was very, very lucky. I was nearly 38 when I finished playing football. Really, really lucky. But he would say every year, like, come up for a coffee, sit down, what do you want to do this year, son? I think I'll still play, right? No bother, right? Okay, same again, right? And then the final year, I was like, I'm beginning to shit my ass now. wee Nicky Lowe I remember wee Nicky was on loan at Alloa from Aberdeen, and he's playing wide left, and for some reason I lost the toss of a coin and had to play right back. I was like, hell, gaffer, go play right. So anyway, there's certain things in games and you're like, oh, hold the boat here, this is just getting a wee squeaky bum time. So I remember saying, I'm like, I think I'm just about got to the point. I'm no overly comfortable now. You know, my legs just aren't doing what.
Is it just purely pace, Barry?
It's all it is. It's all it is, Johnny. But it's absolutely all it is. But the older you get, the wiser you get. Bloody blah. But it's still, there's certain occasions. So anyway, I said to him, "Aye, okay." So he was brilliant with me. You come in and do the warm ups and just basically starting at the very start of your coaching journey, which was completely awesome. But from there, I just kind of rolled, and I've been really lucky. I've had some great experiences. So I went and helped my son's under-8s Glasgow team. I was in the academy at St Johnstone for 3 years coaching. At the same time, I was taking the Forfar 19s that went to the Forfar 20s, and then on Saturday I was into the first team, helping with the quick feet and whatever, shooting drills or whatever else. So all different levels of football. But anyway, the point I'm making is that it's super difficult, and what you're trying to do is create continuity. The gaffer was brilliant, and I got an insight. Obviously, I still have the player's head on. When he's telling me things, I'm thinking, I'm not sure about that, because I'm thinking as a player. He's thinking as the manager.
Yeah.
But it was a fascinating insight, and the learning experience I got from him for 3 years was outrageous. But ultimately, all he can do is take it to the white line.
Yeah.
And then once they go over that white line, you are just hoping and praying that everything goes your way. And when I was latterly with Marks and Fox at Forfar, which was absolutely brilliant, we had what we thought, given the budget, blah blah, we thought we had a decent squad, and unbelievably, and again this is what I said to you guys earlier, Stephen Anderson, who was signed from St Johnstone, he snapped his Achilles. Doris, we did a wee swap deal. Hilson came here and Doris came in. Doris tore his calf in the first 8 minutes at Cove, and then he came in with a hamstring actually, and he didn't play. Travis snapped his cruciate. Dan White snapped his cruciate. So it was extraordinarily unlucky, but Fermer standing behind he's no giving a rat's ass. He's like, this is hopeless. And Fermer's mucking at his work, and people that only come when you're winning, the manager's hopeless. Actually, he's no hopeless. He's got a budget of money, and a third of his budget of money is stand.
4 of your best players are out.
It's outrageous, and all these little contributing factors can make or break a manager, and that's how. So for me now, when I get to stroll up to a game, it's actually quite funny because last year I went to Falkirk. We're playing against Peterhead. Peanut Paul was the manager at Falkirk. Jimmy McInally was the manager of Peterhead. Two nicer guys you'll never meet. Really, really nice guys. Lasted, Paul very well. See, 10 minutes into the game, they were like raving lunatics. They were almost rolling about the with each other. And it's just fresh. Foxy and Martin Floyd, we were sitting up in the stand, and I was just giggling and laughing. Not because it was funny, but it was. You're like, that is outrageous.
It's no you.
But you get caught up in it. And again, when, we came here over the years with Jim. I came in and helped Jim and Dick and latterly with Marks. And obviously you're a little bit biased, but we came here far superior team to Arbroath on certain occasions and lost the game. I remember Lenny scored the goal at this top end here, corner in the last couple of minutes, and we had the chance to clear it, and Eddie Moan ricocheted it off of somebody and it went skying up in the air, and Lenny hit it, and it could have went anywhere, right through the penalty, and it went in the net, and you're like. And in another game at Station Park, we actually played quite well, and we were 2-1 up, and the wee Raj, he hit a free kick like a missile cannonball, and I'm not sure you could probably throw him 100 balls, because McCallum in goals, Mark's nobody's mug. And
great keeper.
He's a fantastic bloke. And wee Lenny rattles the hat-trick in, and you're coming away from it. And obviously you guys, but you're like, on paper, we should never have lost that game. But football's no playing no pay.
That's right.
And managers lose their job sometimes because a player thinks he knows better, tries to do something in the wrong area, slips, falls over the ball, you lose a goal, 1-0, you're like, oh my god, we've completely controlled this game, we're 1-0 down.
Remember that documentary? Was it Brian Robson, Brian Robson for England? They were following him about and he picked the team and they went onto the pitch and they did exactly the opposite of what he wanted because they thought, and he's going baz. He's just about bashing out on the touchline. And I'm laughing because it's England. I'm saying it's brilliant. It's like that. But again, as you say, it's just you can only take him so far.
You can only take him so far. But that's what the gaffer's renowned. He's renowned within football. He's man management is extraordinary. The spirit he builds is absolutely extra, and that is effectively how. I'm not saying players don't play for other managers, but they don't. But they all play for him. And I've my own personal experience playing from 2009. I got kicked out the doors from Jim Weir, and I went up there and played for him until I retired in 2013. So 4 years in that dressing room, and you're like, even when you're not playing, the spirit is still really, really good.
And he's been around the block, so when they were struggling, I thought his attitude was brilliant.
He has been around the
He's
block.
like,
And he's
very pragmatic, and there was no panic or anything.
No, but he's got an unbelievable record in football and part-time. But he has. And just play. I think ultimately, if you were asking me what I think the gaffer's got that lots of other managers don't have, is the respect. And the players play for. Again, my own personal experiences when I was getting a wee bit older, but play a couple of games again. Forfar played Arbroath Station Park. We were winning 1-0. I played right back for whatever reason. Came off about 5 minutes to go, and then Derek Holmes scored at the back post, slid in to make it 1-1. And I played quite well. Anyway, we had a midweek game, and as you do, you think played all right. You come sit at number 2 or number 7 when you go in the dressing room. He's the teammate. Just you sit over there today, son. You take a rest. Really?
What happens?
But there's I've obviously seen other people, other managers don't handle it so well, and it creates that little divide in the dressing room, and the boy's not happy, and he travels up with 4 other guys in the car, and he's knifing into the back of the manager, and it's just the way it is. But the gaffer's just like, I think he's brutally honest. He's brutally honest, and I think there might be 1 or 2 players out there that don't, but I think the majority of players that have played from him, you might not want to hear what he's got to say, and you might go there shortly with your questions, but if you've got an opinion, you have to be prepared to hear something you might not want to hear.
Aye, that's exactly right.
You spoke a lot there about the sort of the tail end of your career, coming from St Johnstone and Forfar. What about the early days of Barry Sellars? How did it all start?
Obviously, my old man played out here, so I used to run about here with the ball. Back in the day, they trained here, played here, the first team, the youth teams, and all the rest of it. So I was just everywhere I went, I had a ball in the marrow, and obviously just the genes in me. My brother could play, but he couldn't run. He wasn't physically capable of running. But and I went from Arbroath Lads Club to a team called Fermer Boys in Dundee, and they were relatively established and they get invited to tournaments. So we went out in Glasgow, and there's a Lindsay tournament. It's quite a prestigious tournament for boys clubs. We went to the Lindsay tournament, and I ended up, I was travelling all over, training with all the pro teams. Went down to Manchester for a week. Alex Ferguson phoned the house one night. I'm only 10, I don't know anything about anything, but Mum shouts out, there's somebody on the phone, and so Alex said, hello son, like, Jesus Christ. So only years later you're like, Jesus Christ, but that's what he did. But anyway, my old man, he's like, alright, so we went down there and Tottenham Hotspur, I ended up choosing Rangers, so I ended up, for some reason, I don't know why, Fermer. I don't know why.
Moving swiftly on. Question on that, but the first time you went to Rangers, did you not have a Celtic kit under your Rangers top?
You've done well, Johnny boy, you've done well, that is correct. I'm actually blaming my dad. How the hell did my dad let me get in that car? Yeah, a good friend of mine went to school with Gary Buick.
Calvin Beattie did the same when he was ball boy for United. When we were playing United, he had his Arbroath top underneath it and he lifted it up when we scored.
Made that mistake once, but yeah, no, I had to say, like, who did he top on? But yeah, and I ended up down there for 5 years. That was 11 to 16. But it's just the cards that you're driven. I was a very late developer, so at 10-year-old, you're king of the world. But by 13 and a half, 14, I'm still in an 11-year-old's body and I'm playing against men. And as I've just said already, you need to be physically quick, strong. You can be the best technical player in the world, but if you cannot run past somebody, it's just not going to happen. So, unfortunately, 16, late developer, didn't get kept on. And sadly, because I remember the night, but sadly I was actually quite relieved because I was a home bird and I didn't like going down to stay at Glasgow. I used to go down and stay. I don't know what I was thinking, but it's just the cards that I was given. I used to go down for a week in the summer and a week in Easter, and I didn't really used to enjoy it. And it was almost like a relief. But obviously, if I'd known then what I knew when I got to 21, 22, but it is what it is. And
Experience, that's what happens in life.
It's just what it is. So I kind of just gave it up a wee bit, came back, played for the youth team here, and then again, still late developer, couldn't compete with physically men. Played junior, went to the Vics, played at the Vics for a couple of years, and then again, ultimately, physically, I grew. I left school at 16 and I was 5 foot, and then by the time I'm 19, 20, I'm 6 foot. It's just the cards that you're dealt. So.
Did you get put in a rack or something?
No, it's bizarre because obviously mum and dad are not particularly big either. So I think for Rangers and the stats, you just look at your parents and all this nonsense. Yeah. But it was what it was. And then Jake Ferrer, who's an exceptionally good coach. Jake was a manager of Fermer West End, and he came and took me from the Vics, and that was actually just the start of it. So I was only at the West End for the 6 months from summer to the December. And Jake, he actually left to go to Brecon to be the assistant manager to John Young. Small world that football is. Young was the gaffer of Brecon. He took Jake in, the two are very close and friendly. And they put an offer at the West End. Apparently in Arbroath, must have heard about it. So Bakey came and Dave Baker. So obviously you're an Arbroath person, So from the January, they used to do what they called the delayed transfer. So I would stay at the West End and play, but I'd come and train with Arbroath. So you're almost doing your phasing in period. And I just ate, slept, drank, loved football. I just wanted to play football, wanted to be at anywhere. 5-a-sides, low common, Ibrox, Parkhead, just want to play football. So what I did was, I'm going to say this to you because it bothers me greatly that the modern day player, they think they're far superiorly better than they actually are, a lot of them. But what I as the gaffer would say, Fermer, I've earned the right to an opinion because I've done it. So when you would say to some of the younger ones, like, you're not quite there, well, I think I am. So, well, I think I am. And my dad does as well. Oh, right, oh well, maybe just go and tell Dick to come and have a word with your dad. But what I did was I trained like a Monday and Wednesday with the Forfar West End, and I would train an extra night and sometimes 2 nights with Arbroath. So I was training 3 or 4 nights a week because I thought I really need to get in and about this. And it was a step up for me. So when I came to Arbroath, Brian Mitchell got me the Mitch, Stevie Flo, Kevin Tyndall, Walter Cooper, Scotty Pierce. It was a low team.
Yeah.
But the standard, the intensity and the standard, not so much, and that's not disrespecting any of them, not so much the technical, but see the training, see the desire amongst, it was like a man's game. Graham Souness got sacked for that, but it was like a man's game. No, he didn't get sacked for it. It was like you come in and you do it.
Why did you sack back?
Sorry, you're right. But no, it was he didn't turn up to training, and if it, Tyndall, if he shouted for an easy pass and I just something difficult, he would tell me. And then if I did it again, he would actually take hold of me. Like Walter, Mitchell, all these boys. So you very quickly learned. And the respect that you have for them is outrageous. Outrageous. I'm not entirely sure this generation of young players have it. And I think that's my own personal opinion. Even probably some of the first team players, there's an element of, you're telling me,
All the youngsters are like that, not just in football.
It's a great question though, because we were speaking about it on coming home in the bus on Saturday. What players were asking? What players in my day that I watched in a while back in the 80s do I think would have fitted into this? But how would they have rated? Again, so they were asking me questions on Aberdeen players. Where would they fit nowadays? And there's a lot of boys would have made in the olden, again, we're classed with olden days, 70s, 80s, would have made it into this leagues nowadays. Yeah, maybe they're no at the level of fitness, because I think that's a huge thing. But a lot of other things that they had going for them. I'm going to speak about Aberdeen because that's who I watched as a Bairn. I mean, guys like Willie Miller and Alec McLeish, I mean, they would fit with any team I maintain. So it's good to hear Barry speaking about that.
It's just my opinion, but it's a fact of life. I've dealt with the younger ones and then the 19s going into the first team. What I would say is that there's particularly in the younger academies now, it's all about technique, controlling your back foot, open your body up, and the centre half has to be able to take it in their own 6-yard box, and the full back has to be a centre midfield player. But the reality is, when they go into the League 2 or League 1 or even the Championship, there's not an awful lot of that, and it certainly doesn't happen every time the goalie gets the ball. We're not playing like Manchester City here. But yeah, in my opinion, and having experienced that, when you go into the academies, they get trained in to a certain way of playing, but yet when you get into the first team level, it doesn't really happen. Interesting you're saying that about Partick Thistle, were brilliant. Of course they were. But they don't do it every time the keeper gets the ball. No. Manchester City, Barcelona, I mean, there's probably a handful of teams. Other than that, you've got to do what it takes to win the game. But and again, that's ultimately what comes back. Is if the manager says to you, when you get the ball, you kick it into that area there. If you didn't do it for that, you'll not play. Right. And if you do it for that, he is beyond loyal. And if you do what you actually do,
I think there was a period 10 years ago when everybody tried to play like Barcelona, and I think it just failed dismally for a lot of teams.
It's the myth. It's like it's what we call FIFA football. It's FIFA. You know, you get it and you pass it in 25 passes, and you get into the other team's belly box, you score a goal, and that is amazing. But and it will happen, of course, but it's not every time you get the ball. And ultimately, I believe that it's over exaggerated, because that, again, last year Arbroath were excellent, but they had their game plan. It might not have been pretty for the first 25 minutes, half an hour, whatever else, but they grind themselves into the game, and then they played in the opponent's half of the pitch. Newbley took it in, controlled it, and they all got up the park and they got to play. So if you're playing in the right areas and you make mistakes, then obviously you've still got plenty of players in between that ball and your goal. Yeah. Whereas nowadays it's young kids have to be able to do this, do that, and the next thing. But yet when they go into the first team, they come in and they make mistakes, and you're not playing in my team. You go and sit over.
You have to have the players to pass it around your own penalty box.
But do you know what?
You can't do that.
But that's true. That is again, I'm not speaking out of turn, but there's one or two players came in to Forfar with the gaffer, and the gaffer would say, I'm like, left back, get the ball at your feet, you know, when you put the ball in this area. And you kept trying to pass it, maybe when other players weren't expecting the pass. And then it would break down, you would get countered and they'd score a goal, and I hear you. And we're like, but he's a really good player. He's a really, really good, because as a teammate, you're like, well, I like this boy knows what he's doing. Decisions, just tiny decisions, but the gaffer was like, I've told you.
If somebody's watching this on YouTube, they're going to think you're doing sign language.
Just having you get into but it's football, I suppose. But it's all about trust. If the manager trusts you and you do what the manager wants you to do, then you'll play. But if you've got your own agenda, so to speak, it's maybe a little bit less trust, and you don't play. And then that's how some players kind of get their heads around, because they think, I'm much better than him. I can control it, I can pass it with the outside of my foot, the inside of my foot, I can curl it, I can hit diagonal. But how am I not playing? But ultimately, the manager just wants a player you can trust. And if you don't do what he's asking you to do, then you'll have to go and play for somebody else.
No point.
That's what it comes down to. And I learned the hard way. When Dave Bakey signed me, and I remember I was sat on the bench for about the first 11 games. it's like, you come off the bench and you're influencing the game. I think I scored 2 or 3 goals. My very first goal for Arbroath was a corner against Partick Thistle. You score and you're again like have a 1 and you're bouncing at the training next week, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man. So I didn't jab his door, but he pulled me aside in training and said, "Plenty, pal, you're doing this, doing that, and just bide your time. You know, your time will come." You're like, because back then you didn't play so many midweek games, so it was like 11 weeks. And I'm like, what have I done?
What have I not done now?
What have I done? But you learn as you go, and I suppose, as I say, you're trying to say to the younger ones now, look, good things come to those that wait, and just, you know, take your time and be patient. But it's difficult because they don't have an awful lot of patience, the younger players now, and they've all got most of them have got an opinion. Most of them have got an opinion. I'm not saying that they go into the dressing room and tell anyone what, but you know, you would maybe pass on a bit of advice, or you would say, like, you maybe shouldn't be doing this, and he would look at you and you're like, he's not loving me here. Whereas Dick's brilliant, he'll tell you, if you don't do it, he'll tell you again, and if you don't do it, you'll sit next to him, and then you'll definitely not do it again.
How much goals did you score in your professional career, Barry?
Fermer. We're counting training, reserve games, lives.
Just go for your
What
professional.
was it? It was nearly 80, was it?
Yeah, pretty close for me. I thought it was 79, but well.
It was nearly 80.
Can you mind what's your best team?
Best ones.
Yeah. You're in half good here.
Aye, I know what I was saying. Actually, I'm fortunate. Scored. But again, if somebody says to you when you're 20 years old, you're going to play professional football for best part of 500 games between starts, substitutes, cup games, or whatever else, and you're going to score 80 goals, you would have laughed at them. Especially if they said to you, play Championship, League 1 and League 2, because when you're 20 you want to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So if somebody says that, you're like, that's not good enough. But when you come out of it at 38 and then you get to you're like, oh my God. But no, the best one I would probably say is it was one of those games, Fermer. It was obviously quite windy, but when I left my house there was no wind. 2 minutes later I got down here, somebody had put the wind machine on. Which happens, and I was
sitting in the comfy seat Saturday.
well, yeah. But I recognised the goalie. It was a wee boy White, wasn't it? And he actually signed for Arbroath a number of years later. Yeah. But I'd seen him a couple of times. We'd had a throw in down on this side beside your gantry now. We'd had
Your gantry. Scotty gantry, by the way.
we'd had a throw in, and I'd had a look over my shoulder, and I thought, geez, he's well. If I get the ball and the ball falls right, I'm hitting it, and it didn't. But from that point on, I was conscious, a little bit of awareness. So Dumbarton had a throw in up at that top left hand corner. The position I was playing, McJohn had said, go back in there. So again, I went into an area, and I remember just looking up and thinking, whoa, cheeky. He's well off his line. And just fortunate that I think it was Bishop, Jamie headed it, and I just opened my body out and ran in front of him, and I thought, I'm going to give this a scalp. But in fairness to me, when I come down here now and I look at it, I think, how the hell did I
Try and do that now.
Absolutely.
Could name the goals for the penalty spot now.
I remember, one thing I do remember about that Fermer, and Stephen Hislop. Never much about Stephen.
Yeah, I remember.
Hizzy played here.
Yeah.
Hizzy was playing up front that day, and I was playing just off of him. And as I let the ball through my body and I looked up, he made a great run into that right channel. And we speak about it, he and I, quite regular. But I let the ball through and I had it. And I remember looking up and seeing him first, and I seen him turning around. I could lip read by that time. He's throwing these hands in the air.
You idiot.
And then he's looked up, and then he's looked. And I went from there, and he came running over. You're lucky that. But no, that was a problem.
80 goals, 68 yellows.
Aye.
How many reds?
Ooh. I did have a few.
Bonus points coming up here if you can help me out here, Barry. Again, I've got them written down here. There's not that much.
It was probably maybe 4.
I've got 5.
4 or 5. I think there was only one of them for a tackle, and then
I was about to say, any tackles?
one was for a tackle. I was
looking at it. It came to nail at these stats, but I was looking at it. There was in there with Ryan McCord. He was sent off in 30 minutes, and you were sent off in 31. I'm thinking, they tossed it a wee rumble there, like.
he and I couldn't tackle a fish up. I don't know what went on there.
Oh, you can tackle a fish up.
I don't know what thing he was up to there, but he had two great feet. He was a great player. But
I'm just asking some of my questions.
By the way, I've got a couple.
Again, we've spoken a fair bit about your coaching and everything, Barry. I mean, I've got a question I'm going to rumble about. At the level that you're watching, what do you think has been the biggest improvement in this level for football since you've retired? So what do you think's made the game better? And I'll just open it up there as well to keep the continuity. You can answer what you think's made the game worse as well. Sensible question here with Fermer, you can.
An interesting question, Fermer. I'm not so sure there's that. I mean, it's 2013, so it's coming up for 10 years since I played. But what I probably would say is that it is an awful lot more technical now. In terms of, as I said, the younger ones who go through their academies, it's all technical. Just case in point, what you're saying is, when I started playing, there was more streetwise.
Mm-hmm.
So, whereas now they're less streetwise, but they're probably a little bit more technical. But I've been really surprised by the level or the lack of what we'd call game awareness. So when they go through their academies, it's all football technical, get the ball in, they get as many touches and they control on their back foot and all this. But a massive part, in fact, the biggest part of football is knowing where to stand on the park and when to stand there. And they don't get taught that. Not an awful lot of them. So when they come into your team, you know, the ball will be in a certain place on the pitch and you're expecting the player to be in another certain place and he's not there. To let you understand that, particularly in a defensive, I'll give you a funny story just because this falls in line with it. But again, for the gaffer, up in Forfar, when Hilly started coming in on loan from Dundee United, we signed another kid at the time called Willie Robertson from Dundee United, and Willie came in and first or second game anyway, playing right back. And the ball was over on our left hand side of the park. Bloody blah, and then we lost the ball. They quickly broke and I think scored a goal, and the manager, the gaffer, came in at half time and told Willie what he thought. And Willie's like, but I don't know what I'm doing. He said, what do you mean you don't know what you're doing, son? I said, well, I don't play right back. Yeah, fucking football player, son. I don't know what I'm doing playing right back. I'm a centre mid. And to me, I was like, well, why is he playing right back? He doesn't get what he's doing. But equally, I'm thinking he's been playing football at an academy since he's 10, 11, 12. In my opinion, which falls in line with your question, the very least they should know is where to stand. It's the terminology we use is where to stand in relation to where the ball is. But he didn't. So there was a huge space in the pitch. Boy, Andrew scored. Well, he's like, where am I meant to be standing? What are you doing?
Watching kids football. I watch my nephew play a fair bit now. I'm watching them when throws. And that's something I always said. They were, you could see that their coaching and their training was designed for attacking football. They weren't. Again, I always thought that they should have teamed maybe 4 or 5 of them and had somebody coach them for the at corners and what they were doing and where to move and how to get the guy, can show them where you want them to go and that. And I just didn't think there's enough of that taught in youngsters, but I'm the coach.
No, but that's the difference you're asking me. So as I say, when I came into an experienced team, and in fairness to the gaffer's got a team full of experience. So, and that's the difference between him and lots of other teams, particularly at part-time levels. They're all experienced pros, so he doesn't have to tell them. They know what they're doing. Whereas, perhaps with some of us, for us, etc., slightly lesser budget, your market slightly lesser, the player you bring in slightly lesser, and the education they've had slightly lesser.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not as good football players, but just the margins are so small that if you're no standing, I was never a right back, obviously, couldn't tackle, but because you're standing in the right place at the right time, it obviously saves you having to run so far, obviously. And that's, if you're asking me the question now, I remember Colin McGlashan dripping through me, McWalter, oh my goodness. and you learn very quickly. And I think it's what we call awareness, game awareness.
Yeah.
Having the game awareness. They don't quite have. It's just in my opinion. I'm generalising. I'm not picking. I'm like, ooh.
Old-fashioned term, reading the game.
Can you spot that when you're going coaching?
Oh.
Getting scouting.
Absolutely.
Surely you'll
You see that pretty quickly. That's my point. You see it pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a fan, you see that quite quickly. You very quickly pick up with somebody hasn't got a clue where they should be.
Yeah.
Or out of position.
It's not so easy. And defensively, it stands out as something, but
Yeah.
the offensive players as well. Jamie is,
Yeah.
if you're an offensive player, as the gaffer would say, you've all got a role in the team when you don't have the ball. Everyone's got a role in the team, but that doesn't always apply to every team and every player in every team. And if you don't have a role in the team when you don't have the ball, you have to be influencing that game with the ball, and that's where it can fall down. That if you don't influence it with the ball, but you're not standing in the right place at the right time without the ball, equals not good.
It's 0.
So
And that's for guys like Scotty Allen, Paul Sheeran for me was one of the best things at that. They would pass a bar, and maybe there was nobody at it, but that's maybe for there should have been tried.
Scotty
There we go.
Scotty came into Forfar on loan from United many years ago, and I was there as well. And first couple of games, he was outrageously good. I think he won 3 penalties in his first game for us, Forfar against Ayr. He won us 3 penalties, dribbling, quick feet. He was good, great lad. He's obviously he's matured, developed, and maybe slightly less of the dribbling now. But when he came in as a young, footloose and fancy free, honestly, 3 penalties in one game. That was outrageous. So yeah, he's a good player. What a player that is. I'll both to be signing.
What did it mean to become the captain of the club?
From my point of view, it was excellent. I believe that some parties on the terraces that took a bit away from your game or whatever else, but I suppose just being a local lad, living, having an association with the club and whatever else, and it was brilliant.
Was your dad ever captain? Ooh, what up with him?
He was a proper football player.
Oh, dinna do yourself doing, Barry. In fairness, you were a decent player. I'll not hear you say nothing else. You were a decent player.
You were speaking earlier on, and we don't claim to be the biggest historians of the club or anything like that, but has there been another father and son duo that have played for the club? We didn't think there had been, but
I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't.
And you're looking at me like I would get out with 1998. I started supporting Arbroath. I can't think of it.
I think this is the first.
I can't think of it.
I wouldn't know, but just obviously anyone that watched him and then watched me, obviously he was a what they call a proper football player.
Oh, he's in Hall of Fame, so
I remember Jamie's dad every week giving me absolute dog's abuse and telling me every week how I was nowhere near the player the old man was. But no,
that's just when he seen you release.
on a training night.
And what about, because you would have still been captain for the promotion team, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Just describe what that must have been. Something
I was just absolutely extraordinary. Just, yeah, I mean, on a personal point of view, it was just extraordinary to play for your local team and to win promotion. Nobody could take that away from you.
Correct.
And I know that football moves on and things move on, and the younger generation that come and watch will probably not remember much about that, but it was outrageous to have dates run and the bus coming back up. It's one of the best nights associated with football. The goal, and again, that was very close to one of my favourite goals. And again, probably taking this probably slightly more in depth than probably what you guys are probably expecting, but John, God rest his soul, McGlashan, he was a teammate of mine at the start of my career, and he was a great friend, but obviously he was struggling with a couple of injuries and couldn't get a striker. Little did I know how difficult it was back then, but he couldn't get it, so he ended up, I played up front, or just off the striker, whatever you want to call it, probably out default. Hizzy was Stevie Hislop, Aldo Brazil. There's a handful of us, but for some reason I ended up playing a little bit further to back. And I remember the goal I scored out there in the first leg of the playoff against Stranraer. Big RR, big Bobby Bahid, Robbie Rayside scored a header down at the harbour end to 1-0 up, and then did a wee step over, and then Aldo Brazil laid it in, and I remember running through it. I still close my eyes and see it now. And these are the memories that nobody can take away from you. You're running through with the ball and just hit it into the side of the net. It was unbelievable. Just there's probably a little that you can explain how it feels to do that for your hometown club, and the connection that you had because your old man had played, and that was unbelievable. The hair on the back of your neck stand up actually. And I know it's probably nowadays you're in the Dick Campbell era and your championship and all the rest of it, but what we did and what the budget that John McGlashan had in comparison to some of the other teams in that league, and we managed to get promotion, it was phenomenal, and that is no an exaggeration. Players, I mean, with respect to the players that when I came to the club, with respect to them, my good friend Nicky Smith and young Terry Masson, Al Brazil, Jamie Bishop, Stephen Rennie. John wasn't blessed with a huge budget to go and get experienced pros in. Marco McCulloch, young Marco McCulloch, Mark McCulloch, don't know if you remember. Marco was probably the other experienced season pro. Marco had played a wee bit. He was good, but all in all, it was a young team. Roddy Black and Tosher latterly came back in. It was just unbelievable. And then to go down to Stranraer, leading, and then Tull's got sent off. I don't know if you remember, Fermer. Craig Tully, 2-footed jiu-jitsu lunge. Alan Ratty never forgave him for that. Rats and Paul Loonan and these boys. But Tull's 2-footed, 25 minutes, half an hour into the game, down to 10 men, away to Stranraer. It would retire the best of us going to Stranraer on a Saturday. Horrific. But managing to get over the line, it was extraordinary. It was absolutely. And as I say, knowing what I know now that I didn't know back then, but the challenges that John would have had with the budget he had and the players and trying to get players, it was, but nobody can take that away from you. No, you're in the history books.
You ever watching the night out after it?
I remember coming into Arbroath on a bus, but
the best nights are the age when you don't mind.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely brilliant.
Good.
Absolutely brilliant. It was one of my best experiences in football, without a shadow of a doubt. Football's it's absolutely brilliant, and you meet lots of great people. So, lots of that team, you can go months and months without seeing, and then you bump into them, or you arrange, because we arranged a night out not long ago, myself, Spanks, Rats, and Alan Ratty, and whatnot in Dundee, and it's Gibby, first class. You just fall back in. And anyone that's played football for a while will tell you, it's just the same as a group of pals, but the camaraderie, the spirit, the banter, it was just incredible. But you meet a lot of good people, so like Hizzy, Stephen Hislop and Jamie Bishop and Rats and all these guys, you don't see them for a while and then you just catch up, and the banter that you get in football, it's just you have to be thick-skinned.
Alright.
Because it's absolutely ruthless. You get absolutely destroyed.
You're looking at me for
you can't hear everybody shouting at nearly everybody shouting at terraces, but in the dressing room you hear it. And it's and the majority of it's good, and it can, I've seen fisticuffs and all the rest of it, but most people just want
that's
to
usually just pink and dick having a go at each other.
They are people roll about before they get two of them, but no, it's good. It's really it's the experience, as I say, Johnny. You don't appreciate what you've done until you come out of it and then you retire, and then you look around and you see some real good quality players that, for whatever reason, don't quite make it to the levels, and then they drift out the game. And you're like, he's only been playing for 2, 3, 4 years, and then he's drifted down and out, and you're like, for anyone.
Then they become podcast hosts.
I think for anyone to play, like, I know Ricky, I remember Ricky starting at Queen's Park, Ricky Little, but to play 300 games for Arbroath,
Yeah.
take your hat off to that. At the best of time, but for where he commutes from, the commitment is extraordinary.
Which brings us nicely on to Bobby Lynn testimonial update.
I was just waiting for that.
Oh, has to be.
You managed to sneak that in.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Segue.
2nd October, so it's coming up. Nay this Sunday, but next Sunday. It's a testimonial. And remember, pay at the gate, £10 for an adult, £5 for a bairn. Newbley, Sheeran, Keith Gibson, Ryan McCord, Darren Jimison, Jason Thompson, James Cragen. I'm rattling off names here, I'm struggling. Stevie...
Did I miss one out now?
No, Stevie Doris. Simon Murray. I mean, look, what a team of greats. Mark Watley. And a surprise couple of wee additions. The Doc's playing, Craig Reynolds is playing. He's once he'd been a centre half, I think, centre midfield, he says. That's good. And so, come along. There's about 70 Barons playing a 4 a game and leading the players out. I mean, it's just can't wait. I'm now super excited. Barry here, I'm going to actually give Barry a compliment. His company, Astute, have been superb with their help. They came to do the social media posts and made the banners, which I'm probably going to hang up before long. They've really done us really good. They've been superb. And I'm going to say it again. Anything like that you're needing, go to Astute. Printing, buy all that kind of stuff. It's not often I give adverts, but to be fair to Barry, his team is doing brilliant. I can't mind the names Paula and what's it,
Paul and Andy.
Paul and Andy.
Yeah.
They've just been absolutely brilliant. And member of the committee, and on behalf of Bobby, thanks for all the help. There's other folk. There's hospitality available. Kane, it sounds dear at 50 quid, but for 50 quid you're getting 3 free drinks. You're upstairs in the comfort of the lounge.
It's no 125.
And it's a 2-course meal. It's superb, and you get access to the players at the game. The hospital guests will get that as well. They'll get a little bit more than that. Alan Suter's apparently in the hospital lounge. We'll maybe get him to say hello. So guys, 2nd October. Sorry, it's an awful long thing, but it's coming up.
No,
Hospital man,
a great day. And if anyone deserves it, it's Bobby.
I mean, Bobby Lynn, what
player.
he's done for himself and for club. Bearing in mind, that's the same wee guy that when first time I clap at eyes on him, I wanted to clap his lug. He was playing for his Fife and he gave us the bird. That's what he did. He was in a great game. Me and Colin was there, and you can't have seen him, but he did that. And you got to admire him for that. And we said on that day, again, I wish he was playing for us, and we got our wish. 10 years later, he's here with Ricky Little and that. So
he's like a fine wine, isn't he? He's gotten better with age. He's outrageous.
Oh, he's great. Texts me every day nowadays, like you can. He's just
leave me alone.
That's what I text him back. Like, also, what you will get the chance for all you guys that likes a wee gin. I can reveal it now. There's a special edition of the Bobby Lynn gin being made by Redcastle Gin. So there we go. What's the word I'm looking for? Not commandeered. What is it? Not commended either. Come on, help me. Commemorate. I need countdown Paul in here. I got the right word. What do you call? What's the word?
It's going to make you squirm. The Lynn gin's coming in.
The Lynn gin's coming in. There's a little wee personal message in the bottle for Bobby there. So you'll be able to buy that through the Redcastle website, so that's great. Also, I've been told to do another plug. The Arbroath online shop is coming on. It actually comes out in the morning, but you'll know Kane that because this will not be on Friday.
So it comes out
yesterday. That's a bit more complicated. And that's on you go.
If you're going to promote that, just what is www what?
www.arbroathfc. I forgot. I get stuck. If you can go on to the Arbroath FC page, you get the link for there.
Up there
for thinking, doing it for dancing.
Right, well done.
Barry Sellars, great player, great captain. promotion winning captain, great coach, great scout. Why are you sitting with 0 points in our predictor league?
I'm not reading the script properly, am I?
All the best lads have got 0 points, Barry. Done took it perfectly, mate.
We'll give you the chance to redeem yourself. We do this, everybody. He shoots, he scores. Little quiz for you. 5 questions, like a penalty shootout.
Okay.
Jamie and Farmer are the questionnaire today.
Well,
I'm going to pass it over to you lads.
I've got the 5 questions here.
Go for it then, go for it. I've just got the bonus sheet.
Fermer might have the bonus in now. Now, they might not be too accurate. Answers, but we'll go for it. Right, question 1. When we secured promotion on the last day of your first season in FITBA, 97-98, who was it against and what was the score?
Queen's Park 1-0 Arbroath, Craig Cooper penalty.
There we go.
Not bad, yeah.
He's not bad, like, he's not bad.
That's probably the only one I'll get. But
I know.
How many managers did you play under at Forfar? Now, this is open to debate.
is that in obviously in total for the whole?
Everybody.
Yeah, the whole time I was there. Oh, I think I got Ian McPhee sacked about 2 weeks after. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Fine,
6.
fine.
There's maybe 6.
Gonna have to hurry you, Barry.
I've got 7.
7.
I'll list them.
Yeah.
You can argue with these. I don't, obviously.
Maybe it is 7
Who
actually.
cares? Neil Cooper,
Yep.
Ray Stewart,
Yep.
Ian Miller.
No. Oh, you're not counting Ian Miller. He was Ray Stewart's assistant.
And
He maybe took over for the. Nice man.
Ryan Fairley,
Yep.
Ray Farningham,
Yeah.
George Shaw, and then the legend.
I didn't play for George.
Did you not?
No.
Because he took over a month before you left.
I came back to sign for McGlash, John McGlashan, just at
What's the noise it makes?
Well, I threw in an extra name there, so we'll give him like what? Hit the post?
No, you want the
I think I've got that one in after
After
We'll give it.
VAR.
Right, number 3. What is the number of total appearances you and your father made for Arbroath?
Oh no! Can't believe that.
Put them again.
I know.
Simple maths.
It's on that. It's on that wall. It's on the wall.
It's on the wall.
400 and... Is it 400 and... Is it 500? It's 500 and something, isn't it? And
Yep.
I think...
How many did you do?
I think it's debatable.
It's debatable.
Had a strip on and how many I played in.
Sure, if he's not sure how many games he's played, if he's struggled with it adding up.
Both, I think. One played 300 and something. I think it must be inclusive of everyone. It must have been about 200, so it must be 500 and odd, is it? Is that close enough?
I'll give it to you if
Certainly an odd number.
you get within what 20?
20.
Yeah.
Is it 500 and... I want to say... I can't be... I think it finishes with a 7, does it? 500 and something? 7? 557?
Oh, your dancer. 557.
That's within 20.
That's 22 out. 535. You're 185
That's outrageous.
and your dad's 350.
350 games, that's
Incredible, eh?
outrageous.
Did you know you were 185, no? In that ballpark.
Is that starts or is that...
That's it, mate. That's what the club says anyway.
Yeah.
Appearances, that's plastic.
Appearance at 185.
There'll be some of that in brackets for subs and that.
Aye, 30.
News.
It says 30% and then you were sharing.
185.
But it's still good.
185. That wasn't bad actually, because for Baker's
Now we got
first season,
now
I
this,
barely played.
now this source is Eddie Gray, right?
Okay.
And he says from your first club.
Big Ted.
He says, what's your favourite word you use when playing, coaching, talking, anything to do with football? And they both said it. His assistant as well. What's his assistant's name again?
Davy Stark.
Both of them said it in unison.
Did they really?
He says, oh yeah. He says it all the time. You'll know.
It's no, you want to
Ruthless!
That's a fair comment, yeah.
He says that constantly.
Yeah.
So what's the score so far? Keeping track, JB?
No.
Yeah, one job this week, JB, with the new mate for the yapping for you.
3.
So what is it? He's 2. Because we gave him 1.5 the post, didn't he?
I've got 2 bonus questions for him.
Got 1 to go, last
Oh.
one. Kelly, your ball and chain, is an official FITBA ref. How many times has she given you the red card?
Is that daily, weekly, monthly? 0.
Final answer.
So we plugged for Kelly's daughter Abby's on the women's FIFA list refereeing, so she's following in her mother's footsteps.
Cool.
Phenomenal. She's coming up to 23 years old and she's doing women's Champions League games, women's World Cup qualifiers. She's now stepping into the what we call it, category 3, which means that she's doing the men's seniors now. So she was on the line down at Annan East Fife last week. So you'll perhaps start to see Abby
We'll see her
coming
on the
through.
telly soon, isn't
You will. I mean, she's very good, and I used to be ever so frustrated with referees.
I bet you still are.
I used to be very difficult for other reasons.
I'll stop because I've got a great joke. I'm trying to make safe.
Yeah.
Right, bonus questions.
So, you're right on about awareness, Barry. So, when you're going to your work in your morning, what sponsors are round about just outside your work? Is that about awareness?
Does that roundabout take me to McDonald's, Fermer?
Aye. It's no McDonald's. That roundabout takes you to McDonald's, it takes you right into your work. What sponsors it?
I've seen it, but no, I would be lying if I could tell you.
I hope it's you that sponsors it.
No, it's no. It's Garmies, Ground Care and AM Phillips.
As the green.
Yeah.
With the gammies, now that you say that.
Eh?
Now that you say that.
Ah, that's right enough. Now everybody's just a wee bit in the truth to speak. See how good you are at the truth to speak. Just one question there that kind of involves. So, I'm going to ask you, fits Nicky Tams and far would be wearing them and far about would they wear them? And fit would they wear them for?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Fit are Nicky Tams, far would wear them, and what are they for? Or fit are they for?
We don't have a clue either, so they're...
Fit are Nicky Tams, so you're bound to hear a lot of farmers speaking about Nicky Tams.
Nicky Tams. Must be the make of them, isn't it? What?
You're right, because you're usually not too bad at this kind of stuff.
Must be Fermer.
Well, it's to do with a farmer, aye. Nicky Tams. A lot of farm workers in the olden days used to wear Nicky Tams. I'm giving you clues here, like.
Is it the bits?
No, it's no bits, but
The hat? The bits?
Gloves?
no, no,
No, the boiler suit, is it?
no.
Tams, it's plural, so there's got to be something like
It's two of them, aye, yeah. So Nicky Tams. I'll bet the listeners can it. There's boys out there screaming at answer out at the radio. It's things you wear round below your knee to have your breeks up. It's laces are stout. We used to wear below your leg to have the breeks up out of the gutters, out of the glat. A farmer would wear them and he would wear them around his legs.
Mine, we would put one on when we had our bike. Well, that's when we were
A
young.
bicycle clip.
Be similar to that, is it?
On for Skype, we used to just put our breeks inside our socks, but mother used to get, because mine, when I was a bear, white socks was the fashion. My white socks, well, my right ear, I used to be black.
You did that when we were bears because of the flares.
Aye, absolutely.
You couldn't
That's how you not
couldn't tuck that in.
I mean, I used to think you had a big leg, like.
Chopper.
Aye, chopper, aye. Oh, they were good bikes, man. And a grifter. My brother had a striker.
I wish we did.
It used to. That's no bad, to be fair, JB, for you.
You finish your result with a rant.
Well, I was going to hear a rant.
Did it often? It was
No, I think we don't have time for a rant.
Compulsory.
It's not compulsory. We'll not hear a rant, but it's not so much a rant. I'm sick fed up with stewards. It's stewards and shitey food.
This sounds like a rant.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, some of the stewards you get on away grounds.
You had an issue at Hamilton no long ago, did you?
I wouldn't. Well, not me personally,
No,
you know, but some of the stewards. But stewards, you watch them; they're more concerned with looking along the line and walking up the stairs in a line, and then coming back doing thing. I mean, G4. You know what I mean? The guy you're looking at for a prisoner in a fucking barn. But the secret of good stewarding and looking after crowd control is communication and being nice with them. Brilliant steward there on Saturday at where was it Saturday? Greenock Morton, great steward, and a good steward at Partick. All the rest of them have just been complete and utter numpties. And the other thing I'm fed up with, how's every other Grand McGinkle, it's absolute garbage food and pies. And
But they all say they've got good pie.
oh, then, I mean, some of that stuff, I actually bought myself no wheel. I hardly eat
Not doing the pints before the game.
I hardly eat at Gruns now because their stuff's no good. You come to Arbroath now, Arbroath gives a good pie. Get enough food. Get enough selection. I'm not a big fan of how you kind of get a plastic bottle in there. I can, it's because we done behave ourselves and they get thrown about and stuff like that, you can. But then they sit and then they open the lid and then they pour it. Geez, oh, you can, you've got a short time. Pints are hang so that it's what folks got. Then I stuff it £2.90. So you've got to then get £10. Muck it £3. Bang, there you go. Muck it simple. Life has got to be simple. Get the stewards to be nice and control crowds and do their job. And that is my rant. And it's not a rant, it's just an observation.
It's the rantiest non-rant I've ever heard.
I know, that was the non-rant. Right, I hope my son's listening to this because he's a steward in Edinburgh at the games. So there you go for G.
What is he? Edinburgh what?
G4S or whatever it's called.
G4. I mean, G4, that's like picking berries for a different company for us. It just doesn't work.
He gets paid decent money, so
Does he do the football, Jamie?
he does Murrayfield football. You get a list and then you choose which ones you can go to. So apparently that's what he's doing.
Does he hate to walk up and down the stairs?
They get trained.
You see the back, no?
They get trained. I'm going to give him a photo of you.
Mate, Gruns has got a photo of you on the way. I'll tell you another one, just in Greenock Morton. Need none of time again to get in there. That turnstiles is not very big. They're almost Alloa style.
Aye, that's the turnstiles.
Oh no, I'll tell you,
Turnstiles issue, is it?
I've not been through these at Arbroath yet. I hope they're better.
Don't worry, mate. They've got the double gate for you. It's fine.
Anything left from you, Jimmy?
All good.
Farmer, done.
No, I'd just like to say thanks to Barry for coming.
Absolutely.
Really enjoyed it.
Great, some brilliant insight from a lot of different areas of football. So thank you very much, Barry, for coming on.
Thanks, Barry.
Do you want to close the show with a song, though?
Fermer.
Well,
Simply the best.
Can't do that.
Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Good night, God bless. We'll see you Saturday.
see you later, guys.